The emergency beacon pierced through subspace like a desperate cry, its signal reaching the United Earth Defense vessel Vigilant during routine patrol. Commander Elena Santos stood at the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the distress call's origin. The Centauri Proxima mining colony. The message was brief but chilling. Under attack. Unknown entities. Civilian casualties. Please help. Santos knew the implications of responding. The Galactic Concordat's Article 47 explicitly prohibited human military intervention in any form of interstellar conflict. The regulation had stood for over a century, put in place after the infamous Europa campaign, where human forces had demonstrated capabilities that terrify the galactic community. Commander, Lieutenant James Chen's voice carried a note of urgency from his tactical station. Colony's defensive systems are failing. Life sign readings are dropping rapidly. Santos' jaw tightened. The colony housed over 10,000 civilians, humans and aliens alike. The nearest Concordat peacekeeping force was 3 days away at maximum FTL. In 3 days, there wouldn't be anyone left to save. Ma'am, her first officer, Commander Raj Patel, spoke softly beside her. If we intervene, we'll be in direct violation of the Concordat. Earth Command will have no choice but to court-martial us. Santos touched the worn medal at her neck, a reminder of the oath she'd taken to protect life, regardless of species or politics. And if we don't intervene, 10,000 souls die while we watch. Prepare for combat operations. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew what this meant. Humans weren't banned from warfare because they were ineffective. Quite the opposite. They were banned because they were too effective, too adaptable, too willing to push past conventional limitations. All hands, battle stations. Santos' voice echoed through the ship. This is not a drill. We are responding to a distress call from Centauri Proxima. Yes, we all know what that means. Anyone who objects to this course of action may report to their quarters without prejudice. Not a single crew member moved. The Vigilant dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Centauri Proxima system. The tactical display immediately lit up with combat signatures. 3 massive vessels of unknown configuration surrounded the mining colony, methodically destroying its defensive installations. Analysis. Santos barked. Chen's fingers flew over his console. Unknown design, but energy signatures suggest void collective technology. Their shields appear optimized for energy weapons, standard Concordat peacekeeping loadout. A grim smile touched Santos' lips. This was exactly why humans were different. While the Concordat relied on standardized tactics and technology, humans never stopped innovating, never stopped thinking laterally. Load kinetic penetrators, she ordered. All tubes. Old school. People. Let's remind the galaxy why they're afraid of us. The Vigilance weapon systems were officially classified as mining equipment, mass drivers designed to break up asteroids for resource extraction. Of course, a mass driver was just a railgun by another name, and the tungsten rods they fired worked just as well against ships as they did against rocks. Signal coming in from the lead vessel, Communications Officer Sarah Murphy reported. They're laughing at us, calling us primitives for using physical projectiles. Let them laugh, Santos replied. Tactical, target their shield generators. Time to give them a physics lesson. The Vigilance mass drivers spoke in silent fury. The kinetic penetrators, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, struck the lead vessel's shields. Physics didn't care about advanced energy screening technology. The raw kinetic energy transferred straight through, turning the shield generators into molten slag. Target disabled, Chen reported, his voice clinical but his eyes bright with the thrill of combat. Their shields are designed to dissipate energy weapons, not handle kinetic impacts. They're completely vulnerable. The other 2 vessels turned to face the Vigilant, finally recognizing the threat. But it was too late. Santos had already seen their weakness, and in warfare, humans exploited weaknesses with ruthless efficiency. All tubes, rapid fire. Target their propulsion systems. Let's show them another human specialty. Divide and conquer. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. When it was over, 3 Void collective vessels hung dead in space, their crews surrendering unconditionally after witnessing what human ingenuity could do to supposedly superior technology. As Santos supervised the evacuation of the colonial survivors and the detention of the Void collective crews, she knew the real battle was just beginning. The Galactic Concordat would not take this violation lightly, no matter the justification. "Commander," Murphy called out, her voice tense. "Priority transmission from Earth Command. They're ordering us to return immediately for disciplinary action. The Concordat is already filing formal protests." Santos nodded, having expected nothing less. "Send them our combat logs and casualty projections for the colony. Attach a personal message. Some prices are worth paying." She turned to look at the mining colony through the bridge's viewport. Already, emergency services were arriving to help the survivors. 10,000 lives saved because her crew had been willing to break the rules, to do what humans did best: adapt, improvate, and overcome. "You know," Paddle said quietly beside her, "this is exactly why they banned us from warfare in the first place. Not because we're violent. Plenty of species are violent. It's because we're creative about it. We don't just fight within the established parameters. We change the parameters." Santos watched as the colony's lights flickered back to life, one section at a time. Maybe that's something they need to understand better. We're not banned from warfare because we're dangerous. We're banned because we're willing to do whatever it takes to protect those who need protection. The Vigilant began its journey back to Earth, its crew knowing they faced severe consequences for their actions. But as Santos looked at the faces of her bridge crew, she saw no regret, only determination. They had demonstrated exactly why humans were considered too dangerous for conventional warfare, not because they enjoyed violence, but because they excelled at it when pushed to protect others. The incident at Centauri Proxima would spark intense debate throughout the galaxy. Some would point to it as proof that the ban on human warfare was necessary. Others would begin to question whether keeping humans from fighting was creating more problems than it solved. But for Commander Santos and her crew, the equation was simple. When lives were at stake, humans would always choose to act, regardless of the consequences. As they approached Earth, Santos recorded her final log entry. "We acted not because we wanted to fight, but because we had to protect." Perhaps that's what the Concordat fears most about us, not our capacity for violence, but our unwavering determination to defend life, by any means necessary. The hearing chamber of the Galactic Concordat's central authority towered above Ambassador Marcus Chen, its crystalline walls designed to intimidate. He stood before the assembled representatives of 200 spacefaring civilizations, here to defend Commander Santos' actions at Centauri Proxima. But to do that, he would have to remind them of why they feared humanity in the first place. "Distinguished representatives," Chen began, his voice steady despite the hostile stares from multiple species. "Before you pass judgment on Commander Santos and her crew, I ask you to consider the full context of humanity's relationship with warfare." The chamber's holographic systems activated, projecting images above the assembly. Chen had chosen these recordings carefully. They were from the infamous First Contact War, nearly 2 centuries ago. When humanity first encountered the Drachnid Empire in 2218, we were technological infants compared to their civilization. They had mastered faster-than-light travel centuries before us. Their energy weapons could vaporize our largest cities. Their shields were impenetrable to our primitive weapons. The hologram showed the initial Drachnid invasion of Earth's colonies on Mars. Their massive ships descended from orbit, their energy weapons cutting through human defenses like paper. "The Drachnids expected an easy conquest," Chen continued. "They had subjugated dozens of species before us, all following the same pattern. Superior technology led to quick submission, but they didn't understand something fundamental about humanity." The images shifted to show the human counterattack. Civilian mining ships retrofitted with improvised weapons, Commercial satellites reprogrammed as military platforms. Industrial manufacturing centers converted to produce weapons within days. We didn't fight like any species they had encountered before. When our energy weapons proved ineffective against their shields, we didn't surrender. Instead, we adapted. We noticed their shields couldn't maintain integrity against multiple simultaneous impact points. The hologram displayed the Battle of Olympus Mons, where hundreds of mining ships had launched coordinated attacks using mining explosives. The Drachnid shields, designed to withstand energy weapons, failed catastrophically against the primitive but effective assault. Within 6 months, humanity had reverse-engineered Drachnid technology. Within a year, we had improved upon it. The species they had expected to easily conquer had instead driven them back to their own borders. An elderly Drachnid representative shifted uncomfortably in their seat. Their species had never fully recovered from the humiliation of that defeat. But it wasn't just our adaptability that frightened the galaxy, Chen said, his voice softening. It was our willingness to sacrifice everything in pursuit of victory. The hologram showed Earth's cities being converted into fortress bunkers, entire populations moving underground to continue the war effort. Children in schools learning combat tactics alongside mathematics. Every aspect of human civilization reorienting itself for survival. When the Drachnids threatened to bombard Earth, humanity responded by developing the Thanatos Protocol, a system that would have turned every human-controlled world into a doomsday weapon. We made it clear, if we couldn't have our freedom, no one would have victory. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Most species present had read about the Thanatos Protocol, but seeing the historical footage was different. The absolute determination in human faces, the willingness to destroy everything rather than submit. The Drachnid War ended not because we outfought them, but because we frightened them. They realized they weren't facing a primitive species learning to use advanced technology. They were facing a species that would fundamentally reshape that technology, that would sacrifice everything to win. Chen gestured, and the hologram showed the aftermath. Human ships, now incorporating hybrid technology that combined multiple scientific principles, patrolling the borders of former Drachnid space, the beginning of humanity's rapid expansion into the galaxy. The ban on human warfare wasn't implemented because we were bloodthirsty or cruel. It was implemented because we demonstrated something that terrified the galactic community: the ability to take any technology, any tactic, and transform it into something unprecedented. The images shifted to show the Europa campaign, where human forces had been asked to help defend an allied system from space pirates. What should have been a simple peacekeeping operation had turned into a demonstration of human military innovation that shocked the galaxy. We didn't just defeat the pirates, we revolutionized space combat tactics. Our ships started using local stars' gravity wells as weapon accelerators. We weaponized terraforming technology. We demonstrated that given any tool, humans would find a way to use it more effectively in combat than its original designers had ever imagined. Chen paused, letting the implications sink in. The Galactic Concordat banned humans from warfare not because we were dangerous, but because we were too unpredictable, too innovative, too willing to reshape the very nature of combat. The hologram showed the signing of Article 47, the formal ban on human military intervention in galactic affairs. Human representatives agreed to it, understanding the fear they had inspired. For a century, we have honored this ban. We transformed our military innovation into peaceful pursuits. Our warships became exploration vessels. Our weapons research turned to solving environmental challenges. We proved we could be more than warriors. Chen's voice hardened, but Commander Santos' actions at Centauri Proxima demonstrate something crucial. While we can choose peace, we will never choose inaction when lives are at stake. The Void Collective attacked a civilian target, believing that Article 47 would prevent human intervention. They counted on our obedience to the law. The final hologram showed the Vigilance battle with the Void Collective ships. The elegant simplicity of using kinetic weapons against shields designed for energy attacks. The quick, decisive victory that saved thousands of lives. What you fear about humanity isn't our capacity for violence. Every species in this chamber has waged wars. What you fear is our capacity for innovation, our ability to see past conventional limitations, our unwillingness to accept defeat when protecting others. Chen looked around the chamber, meeting alien gazes steadily. Commander Santos violated Article 47, yes, but in doing so, she demonstrated exactly why humanity's approach to warfare is unique. We don't fight because we love violence. We fight because we refuse to allow injustice when we have the power to stop it. The chamber fell silent as Chen's words hung in the air. The implications were clear. Humanity had honored the ban on warfare out of respect for galactic peace, but that respect had limits. When faced with a choice between following rules and protecting lives, humans would always choose the latter. As you consider your response to the Centauri Proxima incident, Chen concluded, remember this, you can ban humans from warfare, but you cannot ban our fundamental nature. We will always adapt, innovate, and act to protect others. That is not our weakness. That is our strength. Admiral Sarah Chen massaged her temples as she studied the tactical display in Earth Fleet Command's war room. In the month since the Centauri Proxima incident, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. The Void Collective, emboldened by the Concordat's swift condemnation of Commander Santos' actions, had launched a series of increasingly bold attacks across the galactic rim. Another colony hit, General Martinez reported, his holographic form flickering above the tactical table. New Damascus, 3,000 civilians. The Concordat peacekeeping force arrived too late, as usual. Sarah felt a familiar anger rising in her chest. The Void Collective had learned quickly. They never attacked where human ships might respond. Instead, they struck at vulnerable colonies just beyond human space, always calculating their attacks, so Concordat forces would arrive just too late to help. They're testing us, Sarah said, her voice tight. Using the ban against us. They know we're watching our people die and can't do anything about it. The tactical display updated, showing 12 colonies hit in the past month. The pattern was clear. The Void Collective was systematically attacking settlements with mixed populations, human and alien alike. They weren't just raiding anymore. They were making a statement. Admiral, her aide interrupted. Priority transmission from the Concordat Central Authority. The main screen lit up with the image of High Commissioner Vaxtul, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated distress. Admiral Chen, we face a difficulty. The Void Collective has issued demands. Sarah's eyes narrowed. What kind of demands? They claim these attacks are merely demonstrations. They want the Concordat to formally recognize their right to harvest biological resources from any colony world outside major power protection. If we refuse, they threaten to escalate to planetary bombardment. Harvest. Sarah's voice was ice. You mean slavery. Their exact terminology is biological resource acquisition. But, yes, they believe the Concordat's reluctance to engage in full-scale warfare makes us vulnerable. And they're not entirely wrong. The admission hung heavy in the air. The Concordat's military doctrine had evolved around the assumption that overwhelming technological superiority would deter aggression. They had grown complacent, their weapons and tactics becoming standardized and predictable. The Void Collective had simply found ways to counter those standard approaches. You know what would stop them? Sarah said quietly. One human battle fleet. 1 week. This would be over. Vaxtul's crystalline form flickered with anxiety patterns. Admiral, you know why we cannot allow that. The last time humans were unleashed in full warfare, we saved the galaxy from the Drachnids. Sarah interrupted. Yes, our methods frightened you. Yes, we approached warfare differently than any species you'd encountered. But we won. At what cost? Vaxtul countered. The innovations you introduced into warfare changed everything. The weaponized terraforming technology alone violated dozens of natural laws. No, the ban must remain in place. The Concordat will find another solution. Sarah studied the tactical display again, watching as another alert indicated a colony under attack. With respect, High Commissioner, how many more will die while the Concordat searches for a solution that doesn't frighten them? Before Vaxtol could respond, multiple emergency signals lit up the tactical display. Sarah's blood ran cold as she processed what she was seeing. The Void Collective hadn't been testing defenses. They had been gathering data, learning response patterns. Now they were hitting 20 colonies simultaneously. By the Void, Vaxtol whispered, watching the same data. Our forces, we can't respond to all of them. We don't have enough ships in position. Sarah's fingers flew over the tactical controls, running projections. Concordat forces can reach maybe 4 of these colonies in time. The others, she let the sentence hang. Admiral, Martinez's hologram interjected. We're receiving distress calls from all targets. They're not just raiding this time. They're using biological weapons, attempting to harvest entire populations at once. Sarah watched the casualty projections scroll past. Hundreds of thousands of lives, maybe millions, would be lost if nothing was done. The human battle fleets sat in orbit around Earth, prohibited from acting by laws written by people who had never imagined this scenario. High Commissioner, she said, her voice carrying the weight of command, I'm going to be very clear. Earth's battle fleets can reach 12 of these colonies in time to save them. We've been monitoring Void Collective communications, studying their tactics. We know how to counter them. But we need the ban lifted. Vaxtol's crystalline form vibrated with indecision. The political ramifications will be less severe than allowing millions to die because we were afraid of human warfare. Sarah finished. Make your choice, Commissioner. But know this, if you refuse, if you let these people die because you fear our methods more than you value their lives, humanity will never forget, and we will never forgive. The tactical display continued to light up with distress calls. Vaxtol watched in horror as the first casualty reports began streaming in from the colonies under attack. The Void Collective's biological weapons were designed to incapacitate populations quickly, allowing for efficient harvesting. The reports describe scenes of horror as entire communities collapsed, helpless against the invisible assault. The Concordat fears human warfare because we approach it differently. Sarah pressed. We don't just fight within established parameters. We change those parameters. Right now, that's exactly what the galaxy needs. The Void Collective believes they found a perfect strategy, exploiting the predictability of Concordat responses. They need to learn why humanity's unpredictability in warfare isn't just a source of fear. It's a source of hope for those who need protection. Vaxtol's crystalline form pulsed with rapid color changes, indicating intense internal debate. Finally, he steadied. Admiral Chen, on my authority as High Commissioner, I am issuing an emergency exception to Article 47. Humanity is hereby authorized to respond to the current crisis with full capability. Sarah was already moving, sending commands to the waiting fleet. You've made the right choice, Commissioner. Martinez, deploy the fleet. All ships, free engagement protocols authorized. Show them why the galaxy feared us enough to ban us from warfare in the first place. As Earth's battle fleets began jumping to FTL, Sarah knew they had reached a turning point. The galaxy was about to be reminded why human warfare was different, why it inspired such fear. But they would also learn something else, that sometimes the most frightening force in the universe was exactly what was needed to protect the innocent. The breaking point had been reached. Humanity was going to war again, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the HFY Hyperion, watching as her battle group dropped out of FTL, near the Arcturus colony. They were the first human military force officially sanctioned for combat in over a century, and they had something to prove. Multiple Void Collective ships detected, her tactical officer reported. They're already dispersing their biological weapons into the atmosphere. Maya's expression hardened. The Void Collective had grown confident in their tactics, never expecting to face real opposition. That confidence was about to become their greatest weakness. "Deploy the Nexus defense grid," she ordered. "Full spectrum." From the Hyperion's launch bays, thousands of small drones emerged, assembling themselves into a complex network above the colony. The Void Collective had expected standard Concordat defensive measures, energy shields, point defense systems. Instead, they faced something uniquely human. "Grid online," her science officer confirmed. "Quantum entanglement field active." The Nexus grid wasn't just a defensive shield. It was a three-dimensional quantum computer, each drone linked through entangled particles. As the Void Collective's biological weapons approached the colony, the grid analyzed their molecular structure in real time, then began generating precise counter-frequencies. "Their bioweapons are being neutralized," the science officer reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. "The grid is adapting faster than their delivery systems can modify the agents." Maya allowed herself a small smile. This was why humans had been banned from warfare, not just their ability to fight, but their tendency to approach problems from completely unexpected angles. While other species developed bigger weapons, humans had spent a century developing smarter ones. "Enemy fleet is responding," Tactical reported. "They're launching fighters." "Let them come," Maya said. "Activate the Chimera protocols." The Void Collective fighters streaked toward the Hyperion, their energy weapons charging. They expected to face a standard capital ship engagement. Instead, the human vessel began to change. The Hyperion's hull shifted, plates realigning as metamaterials activated. What had appeared to be a standard battlecruiser transformed into something else entirely. Weapon ports became sensor arrays, then transformed again into point defense systems. The entire ship was fluid, adaptable, unpredictable. "Multiple targeting solutions," Tactical announced. "Enemy fighters can't get a lock. Their targeting systems aren't designed to handle a ship that keeps changing its signature." Maya nodded. "Show them why they should have left the colonies alone. All batteries, free engagement." The Hyperion's response wasn't just devastating. It was creative. Each weapon system adapted to its target in real time. Kinetic rounds for ships with energy shields, electromagnetic pulses for unshielded targets, quantum disruptors for their command and control systems. "Enemy fleet is attempting to regroup," Tactical reported. "They're falling back to their standard formation." "Perfect," Maya said. "Deploy the Hydra missiles." The Hyperion launched what appeared to be standard missiles. The Void Collective responded with textbook point defense protocols. But these weren't standard weapons. They were another example of human innovation. As the point defense fire approached, each missile split into dozens of smaller projectiles. When those were targeted, they split again. The enemy's defense systems were overwhelmed not by power, but by complexity. "Multiple direct hits," Tactical confirmed. "Enemy fleet is in disarray." Maya watched as the Void Collective ships struggled to adapt to warfare as humans practiced it. They had expected brute force, straightforward tactics. Instead, they faced an opponent that treated combat as a multidimensional puzzle, constantly changing the rules of engagement. "Ma'am." Communications interrupted. "We're receiving surrender signals from 3 enemy vessels." "Accept their surrender," Maya ordered, "but keep the Nexus grid active. I want their biological weapons completely neutralized before we allow any ships to power up their engines." As her crew secured the battlefield, Maya received updates from other engagement zones, all across the rim. Human battle groups were demonstrating why the galaxy had feared their approach to warfare. The ESS Prometheus had used reprogrammed terraforming engines to turn an asteroid field into a dynamic weapons system, creating an ever-changing battlefield that only their quantum navigation could traverse. The ESS Atlas had deployed experimental tech that temporarily altered local physics, creating zones where the Void Collective's energy weapons backfired catastrophically. Each human ship, each commander, approached the problem differently. There was no standard doctrine, no predictable response. That was humanity's true strength in warfare. Their endless capacity for innovation, their refusal to be bound by conventional thinking. "Captain," her XO said quietly, "the Concordat observation ship is requesting permission to transfer data back to Central Authority." Maya nodded. "Let them observe. They need to understand something fundamental about human warfare. We're not dangerous because we're violent. We're dangerous because we never stop thinking, never stop innovating, never accept limitations." The battle for Arcturus colony was over in less than an hour. The Void Collective fleet, which had terrorized the Rim for months, was neutralized with minimal civilian casualties. But the implications would echo through the galaxy for years to come. As Maya prepared her after-action report, she reflected on what they had demonstrated today. Humanity hadn't just won a battle. They had shown why their approach to warfare was fundamentally different from any other species. "Status update from the other colonies?" she asked. "All targets secured," her XO reported. "The Void Collective is in full retreat across all sectors. Casualties among our forces are minimal. Civilian populations saved." Maya studied the tactical display, watching as human ships secured the battlefield with the same creativity they'd shown in combat. They weren't just defeating the enemy. They were already innovating new ways to prevent such attacks in the future. "Send word to Admiral Chen," she ordered. "Tell her Operation Pantheon was a success, and add a personal note. The galaxy needed to see this. They needed to understand that banning humans from warfare didn't make the galaxy safer. It just meant that when we were finally needed, we had a century of innovations ready to deploy." As the Hyperion's crew began recovery operations, Maya knew they had changed everything. The galaxy had feared human warfare because it was unpredictable, innovative, and constantly evolving. Today, they had proven that those same qualities made humanity the greatest defenders the galaxy could hope for. The ban on human warfare had been meant to make the galaxy safer. Instead, it had allowed threats like the Void Collective to emerge, counting on predictable responses and standardized tactics. Today's demonstration would send a message across the stars. Humanity's approach to warfare might be frightening, but it was also necessary. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready to accept that truth. The great chamber of the galactic Concordat hummed with tension as species from across the galaxy gathered for what would become a historic session. 3 months had passed since humanity's intervention against the Void Collective, and the galaxy was still coming to terms with what they had witnessed. High Commissioner Vaxtel stood at the central podium, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that conveyed both authority and uncertainty. Before him sat representatives of every spacefaring civilization, including an unprecedented full delegation from Earth. "We are here," Vaxtel began, "to discuss the future of Article 47, and by extension, humanity's role in galactic security." The chamber's holographic systems activated, displaying scenes from the recent conflict. The Hyperion transforming mid-battle, the Nexus defense grid neutralizing biological weapons, the Atlas bending physics itself to defeat their enemies. For a century, Vaxtel continued, "We believe the ban on human warfare made the galaxy safer. Recent events have forced us to question that assumption." Admiral Sarah Chen stood from her place in the Earth delegation. "With respect, High Commissioner, we never claimed the ban made the galaxy safer. We accepted it because we understood your fear of our methods. But fear of human warfare didn't make the threats disappear. It just meant those threats could act with impunity, knowing we wouldn't respond." A Drachnid representative raised their appendage. The humans' response to the Void Collective proved exactly why they were banned. Their weapons and tactics violated dozens of conventional warfare protocols. The Chimera-class vessels alone represent a fundamental shift in how space combat functions. "That's precisely the point," a new voice cut in. Captain Maya Rodriguez stepped forward, still wearing her fleet uniform. Conventional warfare protocols assumed that combat would follow predictable patterns. The Void Collective exploited that predictability. They knew exactly how Concordat forces would respond, exactly what defensive measures they would face. The holographic display shifted to show the aftermath of the battles. Colonies saved, civilian populations protected. The Void Collective's forces not just defeated, but comprehensively neutralized. You fear human warfare because we approach it differently, Maya continued. We don't just develop better weapons, we develop new ways of thinking about conflict itself. The Nexus grid wasn't designed as a weapon. It was originally created for quantum computing and deep space exploration. We adapted it because we saw possibilities others hadn't considered. Ambassador Marcus Chen joined his daughter at the podium. The galaxy banned human warfare because our innovations were unpredictable, our tactics unprecedented. But those same qualities make us uniquely suited to defend against threats that exploit conventional thinking. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions. Species that had long feared human military capability now faced evidence that this same capability had saved countless lives. The logical frameworks they had used to justify the ban were unraveling. A representative of one of the saved colonies approached the center of the chamber. Their species had nearly been eradicated by the Void Collective's biological weapons. My people live because humans refuse to accept limitations in how they approach defense. Their Nexus grid didn't just stop the weapons. It adapted to protect against future variants. They didn't just save us. They ensured we couldn't be targeted the same way again. Vaxtel's crystalline form pulsed with deep colors of consideration. Perhaps we have been approaching this wrong. We saw human warfare as a threat because it didn't fit our understanding of how combat should function. But in doing so, we became predictable. We made ourselves vulnerable to enemies who could calculate our every response. Admiral Chen stepped forward. We propose a new framework. Repeal Article 47, but replace it with something more nuanced. Humanity won't seek to dominate galactic warfare. We've proven we can live peacefully. But when conventional defenses fail, when standard tactics prove insufficient, the galaxy should have access to human innovation. The holographic display showed new images. Human ships working alongside Concordat forces, sharing technologies, conducting joint training exercises. The future didn't have to be human dominance or human exclusion. It could be collaboration. What you fear about human warfare, Maya added, is exactly what makes us valuable allies. We see possibilities others miss. We adapt when standard responses fail. We innovate not because we love warfare, but because we refuse to accept failure when lives are at stake. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was becoming clear. The galaxy had witnessed something they couldn't ignore. Human warfare, properly applied, could protect as effectively as it could destroy. One by one, representatives stood to share their perspectives. Species that had once advocated for the ban now spoke of the need for human military innovation as a deterrent against future threats. Others proposed frameworks for integrating human tactical thinking into galactic defense strategies. Finally, Vaxtel raised his appendages for silence. We have heard much today about why humans were banned from warfare. Their unpredictability, their constant innovation, their refusal to accept conventional limitations. But we have also seen these same qualities save millions of lives. The High Commissioner's crystalline form glowed with resolution. I propose we repeal Article 47, replacing it with the Strategic Defense Innovation Treaty. Under this new framework, humanity will be permitted, indeed, encouraged, to continue their military innovations. But these innovations will be shared with the Concordat, allowing us to adapt and grow stronger together. Admiral Chen exchanged glances with her daughter and father. 3 generations of humans who had lived under the ban, now present to see it end. We accept these terms with one condition. Humanity reserves the right to act unilaterally when civilian lives are in immediate danger. We won't watch people die while waiting for bureaucratic approval. The chamber fell silent, processing this demand. It was precisely the kind of unpredictability they had feared, humans refusing to be bound by standard protocols when they saw a need to act. But Vaxtol surprised everyone by emitting a harmonic that translated as laughter. That is exactly why we need you. The galaxy became so focused on following protocols that we forgot the purpose of those protocols, to protect life. Humanity never forgot that purpose. The vote was nearly unanimous. Article 47 was repealed, replaced by a new understanding. Humanity would no longer be banned from warfare. They would be recognized as innovators of defense, protectors who approached problems from angles others couldn't see. As the session concluded, Maya found herself standing with her father and mother, watching the delegates disperse. "They finally understand," Marcus said quietly. "It wasn't our capacity for warfare they should have feared. It was our capacity for adaptation. And that same capacity makes us the best defenders they could hope for." Sarah nodded. The galaxy needed to learn what humanity has always known. Sometimes the most frightening force in the universe is exactly what's needed to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Maya watched as human and alien representatives began discussing joint defense initiatives, sharing ideas, planning for a future where human innovation would help protect the entire galaxy. We were never banned because we were too dangerous, she realized. We were banned because we were too different. But sometimes, different is exactly what's needed. The new era was beginning. Humanity was no longer feared for their approach to warfare. They were valued for it. And across the galaxy, potential threats would soon learn a crucial lesson. The species that had been banned for their unpredictability in warfare were now free to innovate once again. The galaxy would never be the same. It would be better.